friends.
Hello.
How are we today?
Good.
Some of your faces I haven't seen in at least an hour.
Right.
So, all right. So today we have make and receive offers. This is a really good one. It's literally how you get paid. If you haven't been to contracts class, you have to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You absolutely have to go because it's the best way to learn what the contracts are, what your legal ramifications of the contracts are, how serious they are.
That was gonna be like my first thing, is like, this is not a brokerage.
This
class.
is not a broker class. This
What
is
to do legally.
different. But, and if you're in my PC program, you know that I'll work, well, you all are. But I'll work through it with you, but that is a requirement of mine, is that you have to go to the broker's class because I need you to understand it all. Fair? Cool. Awesome. Do you want this to work? You have to click on that with that. And then to make sure it's on. Good. So this is my friend, Joshua Keatts of Litton Keatts Real Estate Team. I had the pleasure of getting, at one time I belonged on the team and he belonged on that team, and we all merged as one, and we got to share offices and bump elbows on a regular basis. It was super fun. I don't smell bad. He does. Josh is really a very, very, I want to say he's a cool guy. He's the kind of guy that you could ask any question to anytime, and he'll take the minute to sit down and explain it to you and really make sure you understand it. I brought him into group coaching a lot because he's my buddy and he explains things so well. Shut up. He's also part of our ALC. So he's consistently working, like you've seen those top 20% masterminds. So he works with some of the top 20% in our office. Really, really good stuff. Josh, how long have you been in real estate?
I got my license February 1st of 2018 is when I started.
And you guys got to meet Tawny on his team, and Wes during this tenure so far. So I think you know quite a bit about their team and kind of how they came to be. So I am super excited. This group is amazing.
Yeah.
They're gonna participate and eat in front of you.
And I smashed some food as I was leaving the office. So I did it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, be good.
So good timing on one part, is Shan and I were talking up there. I just received an accepted offer that I sent out last night. So I'll be able to role play here in a little while, but you'll actually hear me having a conversation with my client. This one's a little bit more unique than just a straightforward, they accepted it. It's a contingency offer. My client has not finished getting their house picture ready. So today gets to be a really honest conversation with them about needing to do that. So we'll get to go through that later. But a little bit about me. Shan mentioned most of it already. Had my license 2018. I was an individual agent. Wes and I were friends coming in. We both worked at Bass Pro, sold boat loans over there for a couple of years. Got to know each other through that. And we, well, he got his license and I sent him a bunch of referrals, and he told me to quit giving him money and start doing it myself. Honestly, I think the first year he had his license, I sent him, I think he calculated like $24,000 in commissions out of just people that I knew. He took me out to a really nice dinner, had me a lot of old fashions, and convinced me with a wife who was a full-time student. I was 25 years old without a year of savings and all of that. And he said, you should probably quit your job and just do this full-time. So that doesn't make any logical sense, but where do I sign? So I was a coach at a gym. I was doing boat loans full-time, and then I was studying for my real estate exam. So I passed my class, put my notice in at my job, got my license, and pretty much jumped right on both feet. Wes and I were not technically partners, but we worked together. And of course, Wes decided to go to Hawaii for 2 weeks because he had grandparents that had passed, and that was their part of their will was to send the whole family there to spread, do their whole ceremony and all that stuff. So I was a new agent by myself and had no idea what was going on. And I just put my first listing live and had 2 active buyers, and I was pooping bricks. So I went door knocking our office to find people who would help. Carrie Warsh opened the door. This is before she was on Adam's team. She was she was an agent, rainmaker, had 4 people on her team, was doing 25 million a year in business or so, something like that. And she said, give me 15 minutes and I'll come to your office. Just straight up, that's how I said hi to her for the first time. And she came over, walked me through getting a listing live. She was actually the first showing on that listing. And then helped me get the contract accepted. And that kind of really solidified my love for KW, as you got one of the top agents in our market center, stopping what she's doing as she was running around like a chicken with her head cut off, to help me. So when she didn't need to help, no, she could have stolen the listing if she wanted. I mean, she could have done anything, right? But that wasn't the heart of KW. And I kind of made sure that moving forward, that was my heart as well. So love helping people out, love doing all of that. Fast forward, Wes takes the ATO position, and he is working for the market center. So we actually officially teamed up. I started handling his business and mine, and then we made a hire for an admin as well. And that's kind of where our team started growing. That year we did 36 transactions. It was primarily myself and then one admin. That admin realized he didn't like being an admin. He became an agent, and then we hired another admin. The following year, we did 112 transactions. And then we've kind of grown from there. So like Shan mentioned, we merged with Holt last year and made Veris Network for the majority of the year. We decided we were better off as friends and not in relationship with each other. So we both split back up and kind of retook our teams the way that they were beforehand. This year, we're on track to do about 280, 290 units with a team of 11 people. That's 2 ISAs, that's 2 admin, and the rest of us are agents in production. Wes and I are still fully in production, carrying a few listings and multiple buyers at a time. So we still like to work in the process. With that being said, I like to be involved in the trainings. Shan mentioned the contracts class. It's a requirement for our team to go to the contracts class multiple times a year. I go to the contracts class at least once or twice a year. Anytime there's a new contract or a variance come out or new addendums or new documents, I'm always in the contracts class. And I go talk to Jim or to Dawn multiple times a year. So this is not broker recommendations. Here's my disclaimer, right? We also have the disclaimer about do not call on, do not call list. This is mine of saying what you hear me say here may be wrong when it comes to the brokerage. So I apologize. I don't ever intentionally do anything wrong, but always seek their advice on this. So when it comes to this Ignite class, guys, it's like I could be done with the material for it in 15 minutes. It's actually really pretty basic on here. And I want this to be very engaging with everybody. I want you guys to ask questions. I know you guys are obviously in the business and working on it currently. So ask questions, give insights that you guys have, and we can work on this together. I'm a firm believer that most people, if not everybody, learn better if it's a group activity, right? People are all engaging with each other rather than me just standing up here reading some slides, asking for your homework, which you guys don't have homework. No one did. You don't learn as much in college as if like you're actually doing the work, right? So let's do it together. Let's work on it, right?
Yeah. You'll figure that out. We're pretty interactive. The first thing you have to do though is put your phone number on the board. I have your phone number, but for everybody else. It's kind of like your rite of passage to get to teach us.
I'm down for that.
So we can bug you whenever we.
It's your rite of passage to get to teach us. You guys like that?
I'm okay with that. Sorry. Okay, perfect. So, I do run a team. I also have a 2-year-old, and then I, very selfishly, but I need it mentally. I try to disappear usually for like half a day every week, and I go get on the water, I go fish, and I generally am at places where I don't have great cell service. So if you don't get me, leave me a message, shoot me a text, I will respond. I try to be very helpful because everyone else has been very helpful for myself. So if you guys don't know where we are located, our office is located in the annex building on the north parking lot. So next to legal land title, we're in the suite right next to them. So if you guys need anything, there's almost always somebody in our office. Like I said, I've got 2 ISAs. They're there pretty much 40 hours a week. Got 2 admin that are there when they need to be, which is usually more than 40 hours a week. And then there's an agent there. Our team is a little different than some. And I know Grady kind of operates the same. We've adopted that same kind of model where we really like our people to be in the office and in there predominantly every day. It's not a requirement that they're there every day. We do have a requirement that they're there for 2 hours a day for 3 days a week during lead gen time and then during our team meeting. So we have that requirement for them. Otherwise, it's kind of open, but you'll notice if you ever go over there, there's usually 2 or 3 of our agents that are there just to be there instead of being somewhere else while they're working. So they like to be actually planted and in there. We always feel that if the energy you put out, regardless if it's, I always say that if I'm lead generating if I'm circle calling, I hate doing it, but if I'm just cold calling, I'll get a lead randomly from a buddy of mine. He'll text me and say, hey, I need to buy a house. I haven't talked to this dude in 2 months, but like that energy I put out, that positive vibes, it just seems to show up. And I don't know why, but I like karma if it's good karma. So if you guys need anything, go over there, give me a call, a text, I'll make sure to get back with you. If I'm not available, just like I said, leave me a message and I'll make sure that I reach back out for sure. I do like to see other people win. So when it comes to this class, guys, I'll read this real fast. I was like stressing out about it earlier this week, like prepping, and I read through it and I'm like, man, this is kind of duh. Like it really is. I'll go to another slide that really made me laugh when I was like thinking duh. All right, cool. Prepare to write your offer. We're going to back up and go through other stuff, but I just want to see, like, I want you guys to understand why I need engagement here. Prepare to write an offer. Sure, the property's still available. Cool. Build rapport with the listing agent. Don't be a jerk, right? So clearly, like, a lot of this is very rudimentary, very duh. I think that's why Shanna made me teach this class, because she can't trust me with any of the other stuff. I said that, Shanna, Landon, you can tell her I said that. So really, guys, I want this to be engaging. I want this to kind of go over there. I did bring a couple of things as well. That's our team's checklist. One of them is, and I'll pull them up on the screen here in a little bit. One of ours is our listing checklist. One of ours is our under contract checklist. And then I think I have a contract checklist of like you're prepping a contract in that checklist. Let's see if I remember my password. Cool. So we'll go over those things as well. And then we'll do a little bit of this, like the role playing that's on here. And then I will actually make a call. You'll hear me get to congratulate my client on going under contract. And then also hear how we get to push their listing and get that live sooner rather than later so they don't miss out. So today we will talk about how to go from that showing to, is this the house you love? Is this the house you want to write on? Or if you're listing and you're receiving the offer, but on that offer process, preparing it, writing it, presenting it, there are good ways and bad ways to do that, as silly as it sounds. And then on this flip side, receiving and responding, as a listing agent right now in this market, you guys hold, if you have a listing, you hold like the gold at the end of the rainbow, right? Everybody wants what you have because there is no inventory that's sticking on the market that's not either overpriced or just not high quality or location. If you have a good listing right now, they're still moving super quick. So with that being said, if you handle that poorly, your building of rapport for the next one may not be great. I have plenty of agents that I've worked with that I cringe when I see an offer come from them. And I have plenty of agents that I see offers, come from them, and I'm going to hope and pray that it's a great one that my clients want to move forward with, because I know that transaction and I know that process is going to go well. Don't ever put yourself in that first box, right? Do everything you can to move out of there. There's some times you're going to piss people off for one reason or another, and that's just part of it. But do your best to be professional, be personable, and to create that relationship for sure. So.
Technology.
Cool. So offer process. Where did it go? There we go. When we're making an offer, guys, the first thing is going to be having all the documents. Who is comfortable and familiar and who isn't? I guess who's comfortable with Command and getting the documents, knowing where they are, how to get them in the room for DocuSign, getting signatures and all of that stuff.
I know the document, but not the system as well.
Cool, cool. So I'll show one thing that I always do. This is a simple thing, but it's really helped me stay organized when it comes to that's Google, darn it. I don't normally sign in directly to DocuSign. I go through Command because it actually helps my transaction coordinators and my admin do that. We organize our rooms into documents so that we know that we have everything properly done. And we fill out templates on here as well. So not everything is going to be the same, but there are some things that I can fill out that will make my process easier. And then also, gosh darn it. Got 2 for 2 on passwords today. That is saying something. So when we do this, I know that I have the right documents. I know that they are, that I'm not missing something. And then that's also part of my checklist as well. So I'm going to go to, I'll go to this one I just wrote here. I'm going to be calling these folks later to congratulate them on going under contract for contingency. Wrote an offer on a property in Battlefield that they were lucky enough to secure. So this is a brand new room that I created last night. If I come in here right now, I don't know. One, it's hard for me to tell what's signed and what's not. Yeah, there's a little box, but if I'm trying to be quick and trying to move fast, like I'm gonna grab the wrong document, I'm gonna share the wrong document, I'm gonna do something stupid. So I always organize things and I always try to clean them up. I will get rid of my PDFs or I will get rid of like an old copy, I'll archive them. I won't get rid of them completely, but I always add a folder here so I can prep my documents to where when I'm prepping an offer, I can look at it and it's its own little subfolder within the room. And not to mention, if you work with a transaction coordinator, they will love you for this because it'll be clear for them as well. So I will drag all of my signs things that I sent over to the other agent. That's a part of the contract. And I will put it in there to where from now on, I know that this is what I'm working out of. All these other documents are just extra. They're the original non-signed copies. They are the whatever that needed to be there. And now if I'm looking at something, if I need to make a correction, if I need to send an inspection notice, if I need to do anything, need to see my timelines, need to do any of that, it's all very clear for me and I'm not missing something. I generally, not always, because yesterday I didn't do this, I will generally do that before I even write the contract. I like to have it organized. My brain moves too fast sometimes and I miss things. I'll miss adding something if I'm not making sure it's all there. So I run that checklist for myself every time. When I prep an offer, first thing that I do is I will call the listing agent, especially in today's market, and get as much information as I can out of them. If I can save my client $1 because the listing agent's silly and tells me something they probably shouldn't have said, there ain't nothing better than that. Or if my client, this house was 300,000, if they tell me that there was multiple offers and I can get them to share the information of what the other offer, what the terms of that offer are, and I'm able to inform my client, I now have an upper hand, right? My client may not go any higher than what the house was listed for, but at least I know that one, I'm not wasting my time, I'm not wasting my client's time, and I'm not wasting a seller's time. And we're able to put our best foot forward. In this situation, I was able to talk to them. The house had been listed on Friday. They didn't have any offers. They had multiple showings set up for that evening. And I got to inform my clients of all of those details. And we were able to write an offer at full price, knowing we had a contingency. If we wouldn't have had a contingency, we probably would have tried to chop a little bit off the price. But we wanted to be strong, knowing that we were coming in with a very
weak hand being dealt immediately. Their house isn't ready to hit the market for another 4 or 5 days. So with that being said, we knew where we had to be strong. We knew where we had our weaknesses and what we had to overcome. And I was very clear with the seller's agent on that before I even wrote the offer. I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, I'm just going to leave this out and see if they notice it on the contract. I want to be so upfront and so confident about it that I'm able to convey that really well over the phone or in person. I can't do that on an email, or if it's just sitting here, it's, black and white text on a contract, they don't get to see that. Especially when it comes to this contingency here. Called the other agent. Yeah, they'll consider a contingency offer. Great. I've got a house that's going to sell super fast. My clients want it to sell fast. They're going to price it aggressively. I think we're underpricing it and it'll go really fast because of it. And as soon as I told her where it was, what it was, and how much we were listing it for, and I had confidence in my tonality there, she was the exact same way. She's like, oh yeah, that won't be a problem at all. I'll make sure my clients know that you guys are going to move it quick. Cool. We just won the offer just based off of that. And if I wouldn't have had that conversation with her, I don't know if that would have been the case. It could have been, right? Kay Van Kampen's a smart agent. She could have gone and done the research herself and been like, all right, great, we're there. But I'm able to influence her a little bit based off of my confidence. My clients are VA and a contingency, so we had a lot to work with there. Luckily, they're putting like 50,000 down on their VA, so it makes it a little bit different. The big thing here too, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this through coaching, when it comes to prepping offers, we use, and this is going to make it difficult because it's they're already in use, but you guys know you can make templates in here. Everybody familiar with that? Whether or not how to do it, that'd be something to talk to Shan about. But you guys can set up templates, and I believe now you can set up folders too. So you can, like, all your buyer docs can be in one folder, all your listing docs can be in one folder. And then obviously all your standard contract docs, or even all the contract docs, and you can select which one to use. The templates have been huge for us. One, it minimizes your compliance issues. If you go in there and the silly stuff that are simple to forget, like a checkbox here or a date here or a number there, if you have that set up on the template, you don't have to worry about going back later and having compliance fix it. I just got slapped on the hand, or our whole team did during our team meeting today, because our director of ops told us that our 2 admin are spending about 8 hours a week just fixing compliance issues so that we can get paid. I don't feel that. I don't notice it. I don't see it until she says that. And then it's like, oh man, I'm really hurting somebody's life, right? So if you guys can make your own lives easier, or your transaction coordinator's lives easier, they'll be much happier. Trust me, you'll get paid quicker that way too. Rachel, Landon, none of them care if your compliance isn't right, you're not getting paid. So just make sure it's done right. And the first time to do that, the most professional time to have that done and done right is before you're at the offer. There's nothing more aggravating than when I have to call a client and be like, I screwed up, I missed a signature, I missed a checkbox, or I'm a dummy, I did this, right? You just look unprofessional. If it's super clean and it's efficient, the other agent sees a super clean and efficient offer, they're happier to accept it as well. So just make sure that all of those ducks are in a row sooner rather than later. Let me go to this next piece real quick. So I'm going to bring this up real fast and just kind of show you our team. You guys can kind of see that, right? Kind of. Okay. So we have this. This is our contract to close checklist. We also have one for contracts. I don't have it with me, but of things that you might need, we have one for open houses. We have one for listings. We have one for buyer documents. We have one for everything, because I don't want there to be an excuse for anybody to not have that. Take the steps that you guys know that have to be done when you have some time and you're not rushing through an offer. Build yourself one of these. It doesn't take.
Do you have this in Command, or do you just have it?
We don't use Command because of our team. When Command came through, it wasn't built for teams that were our size. I think now it's much better on that front, but we're already fully invested into something else that has produced a bunch of business for us, so it's hard for me to want to switch out of it. Not saying that Command couldn't do it, but I've got something that's working. It's hard for me to want to change it right now. But you definitely can. You guys run Command, yeah. All of our checklists are built out through another program though. We don't have our checklists in Command. We have them in, it's not TC workflow, but it's something like that. So any of our agents can access it if they need to pull it out. We also all share, as soon as if somebody joins our team, they get access to our Google Drive and all of those documents are in there. And then they are, I think all of these are actually in DocuSign. They've been put in there as PDF so people can actually print them out and use them if they want. And we have plenty of our agents that for a very long time, they will sit there and they will have them on their desk and we'll go through manually and like check these boxes as they're filling out an offer or as they're filling out that. I did for the longest time until I felt confident doing so. I still will reference it back when I'm going on like a listing appointment. I'm like, all right, did I bring everything that I want, right? Make sure that I have everything and I hadn't forgotten it all. But the point, like when you have time, right? When you're not actually writing an offer, say, cool, I'm gonna write this offer and I'm gonna take notes of every single thing that I did. As soon as you do that and it's done right, and you know that it's right that one time, you have your checklist built. Then moving forward, Carrie Warsh said this, I think probably was like 2019. Someone asked her like how often she's like, I don't know if you guys know her very well, but she is a like checklist and like numbers queen. She lives and dies by like factual things. Her checklist, someone asked, how often do you update it? She goes, every time I find an issue. So anytime she's doing a deal, anytime she's under contract or anytime she's writing an offer, if a client asks a question, it's because that question hasn't been answered before the client was able to ask it. It's now becomes another point on our checklist, right? If somebody's saying, hey, you didn't tell me about how the documents are getting to my lender, crap, I need to put it on my checklist that I'm going to inform them that once we go under contract, I send their stuff to their lender. Something as minor as that. So on my checklist here, this at one point was like 10 things. Right now it's 23 items or something silly. So it just builds and it grows. Doing this when you're free, when you have time to actually work on it and you build it out, will save you so much time moving forward. So much time moving forward. And we've got some stuff that we can share if anybody's curious and want to see ours. I will not take credit for any of it. We have R&D'd everything that we have off of other teams and of other people. Very proudly of doing so, and we allow people to do that for us as well. So if you don't know what R&D is, it's rip off and duplicate instead of designing like you're supposed to. What are you say?
I was just gonna say, another one is on command. If you look in the smart plans, people will publish stuff and that we ripped off somebody. We just literally took some mega agent somewhere, put it into our system and that's the checklist we use.
When I say we ripped this off of somebody, we didn't rip it off of one person. We ripped it off of like 10 people and then built ours. And that's truthfully how you should. I always tell people like, oh, I want to shadow an open house. I'm like, don't shadow an open house. Go shadow 3 that day. Go shadow 3 the next day. Go shadow 10 the next weekend, right? If you're only using one person as your example, you're not getting all of the story. Don't get me wrong, it's going to help out, but it's not going to be all of it. So we'll go ahead and rip through some of this real quick, guys. There we go. Okay, so I'm not going to stop at AHAs. You guys, obviously, we talked about how we're going to build that platform out. I really think prepping for that is going to be huge. If you guys aren't prepping, I've heard it. We talked about a quote the other day on the team. Athletes practice, professional athletes, right? Football players, golfers, baseball players, whatever sport, basketball players. They have a game. We'll use football because it's easy here. They have a game every Sunday. They practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday, they have a walkthrough of what the game's going to look like in a practice, right? So often real estate agents don't practice. They practice during their performance, right? It's an easy thing to slip into. I do it all the time. I don't sit there and I don't script practice every day like I should. I don't do all of this. And there's a reason why I will lose an appointment or I will lose a buyer or I will miss out on an offer. If you're not practicing this stuff and you're not prepped daily for it, you're gonna be practicing while you're writing the offer and while you're preparing the offer, and it's a really bad time to practice. You're gonna forget something, it's gonna take too long, it's going to aggravate you or whatever else, and it doesn't become nearly as enjoyable. So make sure you're practicing it regularly. I think our new agents, they have to write 10 contracts and then send them to us before they're like able to go write a contract on their own. They have to write a contract on a house. They're gonna go view a property, so they'll go look at a vacant property and they'll go write me an offer on that property, whether it's my property or somebody else's. So they have to practice, send it, we review it, we approve it, and cool, they get to go do their next one. So make sure you're practicing often on that stuff. Cool. I actually did take some notes on some of these slides, let me pull my real fast for myself. Any questions so far, guys? Please ask, if not, make something up. and before we do. Cool. So I know I joked about building rapport with the listing agent. It's actually important. It's silly that, it's a bullet point here. I have won multiple offers. Our team, Tawny's phenomenal about it. About building rapport with the listing agent. If you don't have a solid rapport with them, go make a solid rapport with them. Call them, communicate with them. It's just like your client, right? If you never talk to your client, you don't build that rapport with them, they don't become your client. Go talk to that agent, go build that rapport with that agent and make them your friend, make them somebody that wants to work with you. It'll get offers done so many times. And I have agents that I know don't like to share a lot of information about their properties or about the offers that they have that will give me more information just because I built that rapport, right? They're open books, right? They like to share. I'm more than happy to be open ears for it. Talk to them about why they're selling. Sometimes the seller said, hey, I don't have motivation. They're not allowed to tell. There's things that they can and can't share, but as a buyer's agent, you have to ask. You're doing your client a favor or a service every time you do it. I will call them to discuss the possibility of an offer and then ask them how they want to be notified. Obviously, I'm going to send the email of the offer, but hey, do you want me to call you? Do you want me to text you when you get it? Or are you just going to get the email and that's fine? It'll be in your inbox in 30 minutes. I'm like, nope, give me a text. Let me know that it's there. Cool. Sounds good. Make sure you have everything that's needed. Pre-approval letter, tax records. I like to, not only do I send the MLS detail and require initials on that because we do for compliance, I'll send either tax records. I will send, if there's other documents that are part of the listing that aren't a requirement for signatures, if they send, this one yesterday, they had utility usage. Well, it's data that I now have. So when I'm preparing that offer, it's data that I want to share with my client, whether it's good, bad, needed, not needed, or whatever. I just have them initial everything that's on there. If it's privy to me, I want my clients to have it because I don't ever want it on me saying that I didn't share information that was known about the property. If you feel as if you don't know the market on the house in that area and you're unsure about the price that they have asked for it, go run comps, run a CMA, ask for help. Anybody else is more than happy to do so, to help out with that. Generally speaking, when you can find comps pretty quickly and at least give yourself a really quick idea. It doesn't have to be like the perfect number down to hundreds of dollars, but if you're like, oh yeah, that's a $300,000 listing, then great, you're good to go. Make sure you get signatures, everything done on all of the documents that you need. And now we get to actually writing the offer, the fun part, the exciting part, like Shan said, the part that we make money. And I think that a lot of times, especially as a newer agent, I know I was this way. It's like, oh, cool, highest price wins, right? That's all I care about. I have to write the best offer. Best offer isn't the highest price offer. It comes down to a lot of different things. It comes down to the terms, right? Closing, silly as it is, the title company, the lender that's being used, build a relationship with a solid lender that is not only trusted by you and your team or your people, but by people in the area. If you've got a lender that doesn't have a good reputation, you'll lose offers. I as a listing agent will share information about lenders that I've had problems with, especially if they're repeat problems with my clients, whether that's national companies that I just don't love working with because you can't ever get a hold of anybody, or if it's somebody local that doesn't own an issue that they made and now has lost my respect and my business moving forward. I'm going to share that with my clients so that they're fully aware of whom they're potentially getting in business with. Earlier this year, I had a client say, that offer's technically better. If they want to go get an approval through another lender, I'll accept it. If they don't, I won't accept it because of that lender, because of the things that I've told them that were 100% factual and had happened on multiple occurrences. My clients made that decision. So make sure you're in a relationship with vendors and people that are doing the right thing. We're with competitive offers and everything, looking at appraisal gaps, not as big of a deal anymore. They definitely were last year, or 2 years ago, last year. Inspection limitations. It's been a big thing, whether you're just checking the box and having inspection limitations. We write in a ton of the time, if we're in a competing offer and our clients don't want to offer more money, we'll say we won't ask for repair items of under X amount of dollars, or we will ask for repair items of these potential items, like these HVAC, plumbing, or anything like that. We're not going to ask you to fix a light switch, right? We'll inform the agent of that. If it's something that I can write out, like not less than $500 up for a single item, I'll write that on the inspection or on the contract. If it's something different, more of a, hey, my client's really looking at the big five. They understand the house needs a little bit of work. We're getting it at a value because of that. We're just going to do an inspection. We really only care about plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roof. If those items are good, I'm not going to ask for any repairs. And I will be very honest with an agent about that. I'm also going to be very honest with my client about, if I go tell them this, we're not allowed to then go back on that word. We can remove ourselves from a contract or something like that though. Make sure you talk to the seller's agent about an acceptance time. You want to be respectful of them. You also don't want to give them like 2 weeks to respond, but you don't want to say, hey, I want this back in 12 hours and their clients work overnight, or they're a doctor that's on 24s and they can't even get a hold of them, something like that. So just make sure you're doing that right. And then have everything else that's needed too. Pre-approval letter, your closing date, obviously, what closing company you're working with makes a huge difference for a seller or a seller's agent, generally speaking, because they have relationships with people. And it makes a difference on the quality of closing that you have. Putting in all of the boxes there, making sure you have your property data filled out, making sure you have your inspection times filled out, your title company, your home warranties if you're getting it, any things like that. Make sure that all of those dates are filled out and make sure that you know. On our contract checklist, we have a part on there that states when those dates are, so that you have a double check on each one of them too, so that you don't have an excuse if you miss something.
What was your big five again?
Plumbing, electric, roof, HVAC, foundation. Thank you. Structure. Yeah. There's always something else that's in there, right? But you know, I had one the other day that was like, hey, we're only looking at the big five. Cool, thanks. Like the biggest thing was like they had an open junction line in the crawl space. I'm like, fix that, please, just that. Like, we're done. Like, I know that seems so piddly because it's a $10 box, but it's electrical, it's dangerous. And they're like, yeah, cool, no problem, you know. It's helpful. It's very helpful. And I will say this, if you're gonna convey that to a seller, hey, this is what we're looking for. If you send them a 40-point inspection item, you've really probably lost that relationship moving forward with that agent. So just be careful doing so. Make sure you're really, really honest with your clients, not just the seller and the seller's agent. Be very direct with them, like, hey, we don't want to hurt ourselves if we say we're going to do this and then we actually do that. Make sure you're there. When I first started out, I printed off every contract before I sent it for signatures. I felt like if I put pen to paper, it was better than if I'm reading it on a screen. You guys do whatever you need to do, but I would review the contract that way. I would print it, and then I would already have it filled out, right? But I would print it off, and then I would like double check everything that I had filled out. And then also, if you're unsure about DocuSign, print it out and make sure that you didn't make an error and make a silly mistake. Remember one of my first contracts, I put $6,000 in earnest money instead of seller concessions. Luckily, I printed it out, read over it, and I saved myself my commission because I didn't miss that. So just make sure that you're double checking your offers, and then go over them with your client. So that's another point, right? That becomes my third time I get to check it. Once when I'm filling it out, once when I review it myself, and then once when I'm going over it with my client. There will be times inevitably that I will find something that I made a mistake on. And then that third time that I went over it, the time that I went over it with my client, a little embarrassing, but still I'm able to do it before we sign it. And I can make a correction and I can send them that offer. Make sure that you have it very clear, know the details of it, right? So if you're offering 100,000 with 5,000 in concessions, make sure your client, the buyer, knows that you're really offering that seller $95,000. Right? Make sure your buyer is informed on the facts of that contract as well. Not only on the parts that benefit them, but the parts that affect the seller as well. Cool. Any questions on that? Any things that you guys have seen that have been a struggle for you or that you've had issues with or concerns or have seen from other offers or horror stories or anything?
As these people know, I'm come from the TC life, so if I'm sitting here itching, it's just because I'm having like flashbacks.
Oh, for
of-
sure.
Yeah, and talk about, contract corrections, like especially when they're,
I think that's the most embarrassing thing to have to do.
I mean, when you've been doing it for 30 years and you still don't know. But then, they argue about, like,
some of
I've been
the
doing this
older
for 30
ones
years. I don't have to
expect
do it that
somebody
way.
to
I could use whiteout. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, we kind of, my license is everything that's on our team. So the teams ran under my license and all that stuff. And if we have an agent that does something that's like on the fence, I'm like, here's the deal. If this goes south, it's my license and my life. You will not ruin my reputation based off of your laziness. I get to have that kind of a direct conversation with them, right? You guys, if you're your own agent, you don't necessarily get to have, you can have that conversation with yourself, but do things the right way. I mean, it's like, I've been in a lawsuit. It's a stupid lawsuit, to be very clear here, for like 3 years now. And I don't lose sleep over it. Nothing was done wrong. You have a grumpy person who's causing a lawsuit. But if it was something that I was on the fence of what I did and how I handled things, well, I would obviously be panicking and freaking out. But because I know that I didn't, and very factually, that's very clear, like I don't have to sit here and worry about that. I'm gonna make sure that everything I've done is done properly. You're gonna make mistakes, but I'm gonna own up to them and fix them if I can and if I need to as well.
It is inevitable. You will come across an agent, not KW, which will hold them to our standard, that is just nasty. I've been there, done that.
For sure.
There are plenty of nasty ones out there.
I will be the first to say, I will make a mistake. It'll cost me money. I might beg the other agent for some help too, right? But I own it, right? This was so dumb. Last month or 2 months ago, had a client, I told them their settlement statement. I said, hey, they were selling a house that they didn't like. They were gonna lose money. And they were okay with it, but I said, hey, you actually get $500 at closing. And they're like, oh, cool, sounds good. Come to find out, I just read the settlement statement wrong. It was that they owed $500 at closing. I didn't call them, didn't say anything to them. I just had Ashley at Hogan fix it for me, cut my commission. I have a good enough relationship with her that she was able to do that without me sending the documents. And I was just gonna have my clients sign it at closing and just kind of be none the wiser. And I made a mistake, I owned it and I moved on, right? And rather than, to me, it wasn't worth calling these people and saying, hey, I made a mistake. You're actually gonna bring $500, right? Wasn't worth it to me. They had the money, but it wasn't, not to mention these people have done like 10 transactions in 5 years, so it's cool. But if you make a mistake or when you make a mistake, it's not an if, it's when, own it. Like, it's okay. Lean into it, learn from it and move on. Write that mistake down, like Bart Simpson style, like write it down on the wall 100 times, like I will not do that again. It'll make your life so much easier. Presenting the offer. We're gonna go over really the things that you need to do. Make sure you're sending a clean offer over. As silly as it sounds, as a listing agent, it's nice when somebody fills stuff out that helps you out or makes it clear to read. If you guys send directly from DocuSign, or if you use Dotloop, which a lot of people do, and you use Dotloop, that's fine. Just make sure the documents are there that are attached. I will forward a lot of times if I'm on my phone and I don't have a laptop with me to download the documents. I'm not going to spend the time to download them, put them in my files and attach it to an email. It just becomes a pain in the butt. I will forward my DocuSign completed email, but I will remove all my client's info and all my information. And I will just make sure those documents are attached at the bottom. If the documents aren't attached at the bottom, for some reason, DocuSign doesn't do it every time, and I don't know where that lies. I will then take the extra effort and I will download them to my files on my phone, and then I will upload them to an email, and I'll make sure that it's sent over. It's aggravating. It seems so silly and so like minor. Putting the documents in an order that makes sense for a listing agent to open them is just helpful. If nothing else, it puts them in the right mindset to say, this person didn't send me the seller's disclosures first, and then the contracts, the last document or the middle document, and then I can't find their contingency or their this. If it just flows how a seller would actually want to read it, it will give an agent so much more confidence. I know that sounds dumb. If it just makes their life easier, they don't say something annoying about you, right? They don't go, dang it, Sam, that's just really stupid how I have to open that, right? It just makes it easier. I know that sounds goofy. I will either send an email or a text of a summary. Hey, it's 300. We're asking for 5,000 in closing. We have an honor before closing date of August 31st, and we have a contingency that'll go live as soon as we have an accepted offer, or whatever that needs to say. I will send some type of a summary just so that they know what they're looking at, and go from there. Make sure the agent knows that it's there as well. And then make sure your buyer knows what to expect next. Never end a phone call with a client with them not knowing what the next steps are. So, hey, reminder, we have to know something if they're going to accept this offer by noon. If they're going to counter, we might hear something around that time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be at that time. I'll keep you updated along the process. The no update update is still a real thing, right? You can update them and not necessarily have a moving forward, but just give them the update of, hey, I'm waiting for a response or something like that. I will check on an expiration time from the seller. I'll make sure that they're okay with it. And then I will also get permission from that agent to check back in. Hey guys, just want to make sure there's not any questions. Have you received any other offers while our property, or while we've sent this one and we're not under contract yet? And I will make sure that we have that kind of communication. I want to know what's going on, because a seller's agent doesn't always do what's best for their client. If I send Clayton an offer, and then Corey sends Clayton an offer, Clayton doesn't have to come tell me that Corey's offer beat me. It would probably be a fiduciary responsibility to his clients to do so, right? But he doesn't have to. So I'm going to be proactive in saying, hey, just checking in. I know we've still got a little bit of time. I'm not trying to rush you. Have you guys received any other offers? Are you guys waiting on other showings, right? I will play the game as a listing agent just like everybody else will. If I get an offer that expires at 5 o'clock and I get a phone call that says, hey, we want to do a showing at 5 o'clock. I said, no, you need to do it at 4 o'clock because I have to respond to this offer by 5. I have a counter written, or I'm prepared to accept it, but I'm going to let you guys get in the door first, right? One, puts a little bit of pressure on that other agent to write me an offer that's good, right? They know that needs to be strong. And then knowing that timeline's there, knowing that urgency is there. But if I don't know, Clayton could accept the other offer and I never have another shot. I never have another chance. Where that's bad on him for not giving me the chance and potentially getting his clients more. I can't control that unless I'm in contact with him and actually being proactive about it. So just make sure you're in communication with them as often as possible without being annoying. Don't be a pest, but definitely make sure that they know that you're not going to let it slip through the cracks. Okay.
Quick technical question. I know for our team, it's standard that we put a template with like an offer that we send to like a listing agent. Do you prefer those? Like,
it doesn't bother me. Truthfully, they're nice to see. If I'm just like scrolling on my phone, I get the email and I look at it, I'm like, okay, cool. I don't take them as for much. I know that a lot of people will actually just like, hey, we got this offer, here's what it is, and they will copy and paste it to their client. You could very easily make a mistake on that. You could fat finger something or whatever, right? I don't go off of it like that, but if I'm driving and I get an email in, I'm like, cool, offer 300, 5,000, closing on, cool, thanks, right? That at least gives me some info. And it doesn't answer all my questions, but I'm at least able to start prepping my brain, or, or if I get that and I know there's another offer, I can then notify another client like, hey, we do have multiple offers in this house, letting everybody know. It doesn't hurt by any means. I don't require it. I just require some form of communication. I don't do it every time. I do it quite a bit. If I'm representing a buyer, I do generally have a conversation with the agent, whether it's via text or a phone call that says, and I'll give them some indication of what we're doing. Like, hey, I just sent you a good offer. Or, hey, we came in under asking or whatever. I don't think that a summary is bad by any means, though. I mean, it can't hurt you unless you just blatantly put wrong information in there.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of agents love it. I mean, because it just makes their job a little easier if they're not going to take the time and read through it.
If they don't do their job.
If they don't do their job, yeah. So we'll go ahead on to the next one. Any other questions? Any other comments? Cool. Any ahas? My favorite word in all of KW. This is my favorite KWism. Agents helping agents. I love that. I just like, aha. Makes me laugh every time. Sorry. We have jokes on our team. Cool. So switching sides, guys. So receiving and responding. If you're representing a seller, right, you're going to receive offers, hopefully, if you're priced right. And if you're in a good location, you have a great condition for the home, you're going to receive an offer. It's everyone's favorite day, unless the summary on that email says that it's 50,000 under asking price, then it's not everyone's favorite day. But I've got a house that's listed right now. Clients want to overprice it. It is what it is. If I receive any offer on that property right now, I am pumped, because it's nothing more than something I can go discuss with my clients, right? That offer comes in low. It sucks. I'm not happy about it, but I'm pumped that I get to deliver it to my clients and have a conversation with them. If they accept it, awesome. If they don't and they want to counter it, great. If they don't want to do anything and they're just mad, I'm okay with that too, because it's more data that they have. If they listen to me, we wouldn't have been priced there anyways. Now the market's telling them that price doesn't make sense, and it just further solidifies my stance on it, which really makes life easier for me.
Question, did you talk to them about that? Tell them like what the market value would have been? Yeah, I figured you did, but, and they still didn't.
I'm
Stubborn.
blatant. I'm almost rude
Mhm.
to my clients if I know them. Like if it's new people, like I'm a little bit softer. These people are repeat clients of mine that I was just talking about. And I was very clear with them. I said, hey, remember your first house and how we sat on the market for 90 days until you priced it where you wanted, where I told you we need to be priced to begin with? He's like, yeah. And I said, prepare for that.
Mhm.
Because we'll be right there again. And we're just gonna be chasing the market until you guys finally get down to a realistic price.
Right. And they were just okay with
We didn't
that.
love hearing that,
Uh-huh.
but he's like, well, I bought it less than a year ago. I put $30,000 worth of shops on it. I want to recoup my money. Like, well, you bought new construction at the height of the market. You're not going to probably recoup it, but we can shoot for it. And as long as you know that I'm doing my job, and if it sits, it's not necessarily anything that I'm not doing. That's really my concern on it, is that I'm honest and that I can always come back to that conversation. If you tell your client, oh, I think that 350 is a good number for it, I really think that's strong, and you don't believe that, you've done yourself a disservice as much or more than you've done them.
Right.
Right? Because now you're the goober that has to go back to them every 2 weeks and say, man, I don't know why we don't have an offer, right? You don't want to be that guy or girl. You just don't want to have to go through that. To Clayton's point, when you have the summary, right? The first thing I do when I get an offer, as soon as I'm at a stoplight or at a pull over in the parking lot, or I get home or I'm at my office or whatever, is I go through everything. I go through every single document that's on there. That's a required document. And I go over it as if I were writing the offer. because I want to understand everything that's on there. One thing that I forgot to mention that I told myself I wasn't gonna forget. Don't, do your best. It's not possible all the time. Don't make a habit of writing offers if you have kids, with your kids running around, or you're trying to drive down the highway and you pull over and you're friggin' hot mess trying to write this offer. Do yourself a favor, like sit down. I've written offers in my car, but I stop, I sit, turn on a little bit of music for a second, and I like clear my brain for a half a second. Because if I'm flustered, if someone just cut me off, if this, that, or the other is happening, if I messed one up not too long ago, something silly that I was able to fix, but my toddler's running around, right? And she's driving me wild because I'm trying to focus. My wife's playing with her, which just irritated me because it's what you should be doing, right? But I'm not in the mood for it right
But you're
now.
working.
I'm working, right?
That's why you're mad.
I'm working at the kitchen table. That's not their problem, right? So put yourself in the right mindset. I remember when I was working at home during COVID, at the end of the day, if I had to write an offer, I would sit down and I would pour myself a little drink because I was so stressed about the day. It was just like, I need to sit for 5 minutes. And then.
So you wrote them all drunk. Is that what you're saying? I told you you were gonna get something.
I
in
wrote a
there.
lot of
And
good
he's
contracts.
not said much to it now, but I'm like, you just opened that door, buddy.
Oh,
No,
we
no, no,
were
no.
waiting for something.
No, I had plenty of conversations with the clients after that. No, but you have to like relax. You have to chill out, and you cannot, if you go in there flustered, you're gonna miss something. You're gonna screw something up. You're gonna not think about something that could benefit your client, even if you didn't screw something up. You could miss a question to the seller's agent that could have helped you, right? But I love nothing more than knowing I have to write an offer. I go home, I shut my door to my office, I tell my wife I need 15 minutes to write this offer and to talk to the agent, and I'm able to relax at that point in time. If have my kid running around, if I'm trying to do this in a time when I don't want to, I'm not excited about writing an offer. Like, I'm annoyed that I'm presenting an offer. It's not really a great place to be when you're trying to write an offer for a client, or negotiate one if you're on the receiving end as well. So just make sure you're in the right mindset when it comes to it. I think that's a huge thing. It's kind of dumb, like the whole good vibes only thing that everyone's, it's like, it's true. Like, be in a positive spot to write this, because if I call Clayton and he says something that irritates me and I'm flustered as it is anyways, it's like, well, now I'm just mad, and it's going to convey to him he doesn't want to work with me, or he's going to gain an upper hand because he just put me in a position that I'm like defensive or whatever it may be. So first things first, guys, before you even, send this to your client almost immediately, right? If you receive an offer, read through it first. If it's a property that I believe is going to have multiple offers, I will tell my clients, here's how we'll handle things. It's a 3-2 in Republic listed at 200,000. I know I'm getting multiple offers, right? So I tell them, guys, I'm going to receive an offer. I'm going to send you a text or a call, whichever they prefer, and I'm going to forward you this offer. Do not call me. Now is not the time to go over it. We will schedule times to go over it. Whether that's, hey, I've actually got time here in an hour, or I'm expecting 2 or 3 more other offers, or we have all these other showings. Let's review offers after showings, right? I don't want them to just feel like they can call me to ask me silly questions about the offer. It doesn't really matter in that time, right? I know the facts. Tell them, hey, receive the offer. I just forwarded it to you. If you guys want to read over it, go ahead. Or if you want to wait until we are done with the showings tonight, we can go over any information that we have at one time. Right? I would rather compile them all and go over 4 offers at a time. My clients have the information so that they're able to start dissecting it and go from there. If one of them has an offer that expires in 2 hours, well, of course, things will change and we'll go from there. But if I've got a multiple offer situation, I know that I probably got a little bit of time. I'm going to confirm that, and I will schedule time to go over that with my clients. That's probably been one of the biggest things for me that has added a lot of consistency and has lost a lot of stress. I don't let my clients dictate my time schedule nearly as much as I used to. We used to get an inspection and it goes directly to your clients. And then I would let my clients call me right away. I don't do that anymore. We schedule an inspection and I say, hey, your inspection's at noon on Thursday. What time Friday is a good time for you to talk about this? I don't give them an option for Thursday. What time Friday is a good time for you guys to discuss the inspection that we received? As long as you've ordered it in a timely manner, you should have plenty of time that overnight's not going to cause you any issues. And I will schedule a 30-minute call with my clients on how we're going to move forward. I do the same thing with an offer as well. If I let them call me and I answer the call every time, I don't get anything else done. I miss calls from other agents that might have questions. I'm not lead generating. I'm not lead follow-up, right? I'm losing out on other things. I'm letting somebody else dictate my day. You can't do it in a manner that's losing fiduciary responsibility to your clients, but you can definitely do it in a manner that's very professional and respected as well. And your clients will understand. I've never had a client that didn't understand and had an issue with it. I've never had somebody have an issue with it. Make sure you let the seller or the buyer's agent know that you received the offer. If you're in another showing or another appointment or whatever, you don't have to answer the call. You don't have to do anything. Send a thumbs up. I literally got a thumbs up from the person earlier, like, hey, I got it, thanks. And that was it. Like, that's all you need. Just make sure that they know that they received it. Like I said, get it over to your seller immediately or timely manner. Doesn't mean you have to go over it with your seller right then, but make sure they have it and that you've had a time that you guys are going to discuss it. If you want to hand them an executive summary at that point in time, if you want to send that over to them, you can. I generally will prep that when we're going over this offer. So I will have that ready to go. I will send it to them and I will discuss it with them then. An executive summary is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to tell them all the really, really important details of a contract and kind of go from there. If I have any questions, or if I need any, anything answered, I will call the buyer's agent. I will communicate with a lender if I feel as if I need to. Certain lenders I'll reach out to, make sure that people are, well qualified. There's lenders in town that are known for handling business that's not always the cleanest. Casey Cooper at USA Mortgage is a great example. The dude gets it done. Or I don't think he's at USA Mortgage anymore, but Casey Cooper, wherever he's at now.
Casey Cooper?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he just switched.
he went somewhere else.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know how many times I would send a questionable at best client to Casey, somehow the deal would get done. If I receive an offer from Casey's and Casey's the lender on it, I'm probably calling him to ask him how questionable it might be. He probably isn't going to tell me that they're super sketchy, but I can get an understanding of what he's, how he feels. It allows me to kind of get a little bit more of an idea to share with my clients. And then obviously number 7, that's kind of where I do my executive summary. I will go over everything. If we have multiple offers, I'm doing a comparison sheet with my clients. I don't always send it to them, but I have my, it may be on a sticky note, but I've got my comparisons of the different offers, of the predominantly important facts of the contract, right? The things that really dictate things for your seller. Just make sure that they're clear on all of that. Make sure that they understand, obviously, the price, the net dollar to them, what the inspection terms are, what type of loan that they have, what type of, right? If it's a government loan, are they doing a VA and need 100% financing? Or are they doing a VA and need 70% financing, right? It makes a difference. Are they needing it to appraise at value? Or, if they're getting a 80% loan, if it appraises a little short, where does that put them, right? So you want to know all of those facts. And you want to be able to share those competently with your clients. Any questions on that? Any other questions on things to be aware of or worried about? Any things that you guys have struggled with on it? No? Cool. There's like 4 of them that had like double slides. I don't know why. Cool. So you guys familiar with command, add a contact, go from contact, start a transaction, open a room, add the documents, all that stuff. Do it that way instead of just going into DocuSign and starting a new room. It does talk back, but it's much more difficult to get it to do so.
that was a big issue on our team for a while. Like, we just didn't realize the kind of problem we were making for our admin by just starting it in DocuSign and like ripping through it. So just make sure you run through command. It'll make your life a lot easier. It'll make compliance a whole lot easier as well. All right, so when it comes to writing an offer and you have an expiration of noon, what has to happen by noon?
Everything, and it'd be sent back to the agent.
Okay,
The signature has to happen by noon,
for what?
for if they're gonna accept or recounter.
So they don't have to for a counter. It's only for an acceptance deadline. And that's why I asked, because that's what most people think, right? So if you look at a contract, it says acceptance deadline. Someone can write you a counter 6 weeks from now. There's nothing that says they don't. You're not stuck to it either way. It's a counter, right? So if you send that offer, I always tell my clients, listen, they have till noon to accept this offer. If they choose to reject it, you may never hear from them again. They could just ghost us forever. If they choose to counter, they don't have to do it by noon, but you guys are only on the hook for getting this accepted until noon. I'm gonna do my best to make sure that I hear from the agent beforehand, so I'm not just kind of hanging out and waiting, but it has to be done before that time and then resent back beforehand. And same thing with the counter. If they counter you, your acceptance deadline is that time frame. So just make sure that your clients know that when you're presenting offers, and then vice versa. Make sure that you know that when you are sending or when you've received an offer. If your clients want to counter, and this is where it's kind of come and play for me a few times, if I've received an offer on a house that's listed at 300, someone offers 290, and I know I have other showings coming, and I know I have another offer coming as well. I'll tell the other agent, hey, we have some other folks that are coming through the house, and my clients want to see what they do if they want to present anything beforehand. And we are, regardless of what they say, we will be countering your offer. I'll get that to you as soon as I can. It probably won't be before your guys' expiration time though. And I'll just let them know that, right? Because it doesn't hurt. I don't feel as if it hurts me or my clients at that point in time because I'm already going to counter. And I've already told them that I'm already countering. And I inform the buyer, their potential buyer, hey, expect a counter from me. That doesn't mean that they're going to get it by that deadline. And I try to make sure that they understand that. It may be later. And it's helpful. They at least respect it. They may not love it because they know that you're weighting their offer based off of others that come through. But
You're doing your job.
it's part of the game, right? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. As a listing agent, you can really piss off a lot of agents in one transaction. You make one agent really happy and you piss off like 5 or 6. And it happens all the time. And it sucks. It really does. I don't know if it's even in here or not. When it comes to that, if you've listed a 3-2 in Nixa, that's 225 grand and you receive 10 offers. You should send out 2 emails at the end of everything. Email 1 is, here's your executed contract. This is my transaction coordinator, or it's myself or whoever. I'll be sending things to title. The other email should be to the other 9 people who sent you an offer that says, my clients have decided to go with another offer. Can't wait to work with you in the future. You won't piss them off nearly as bad. They will still be very mad. They will still be very upset, but they will respect you for the fact that you actually took the extra 10 seconds out of your day to send them an email. And it doesn't have to be crazy, right? Hey, if you guys want to accept or if you guys want to send a backup offer, I'd be very happy to see it, right? You don't have to give them why you accepted the other offer. You don't have to tell them that it was cash and higher. You can if you want, but you don't have to. Doing the decency of sending that email will go a long ways. They'll respect it greatly. Obviously, once you receive an offer, you have 3 choices. You can either counter it, accept it, which you have to do within that deadline period, or reject the offer. On a rejection, you don't have to send the other agent anything back other than informing them. Technically, you don't have to do that. Be a decent human, at least let them know. I personally don't generally have my clients sign the rejection. The fact that we've missed our acceptance deadline kind of makes it null and void anyways, unless we go fix it. I generally don't send that or reject it back. I will send a notice via text or email or phone call to the seller's agent though. I very rarely just blatantly reject an offer unless it's a multiple offer situation and I've accepted another one. But if I've just received one offer, I think I've had one client in my time that's only received one offer that we didn't at least counter back. And that was because they were bullheaded and they were stubborn. So try to at least get a counter out of them. Even if it's a counter for the same sales price, like, sure, we'll do it at your terms, but it's gonna be my sales price or something like that. Okay, cool. So I'll role play this real fast because I have to. I've already received the offer from the agent, or I sent the offer over. They called us during our team meeting today to tell me, or to ask me a few questions. Asked me about their contingency. She got all the data on that, all the information. She said, okay, I'm gonna go talk to my clients. 10 minutes later, I got the accepted offer. It is a contingent offer. Again, their house is not listed yet. So I'm gonna call her. It's the first time I've ever done this in front of a bunch of people. It's kind of weird.
I'm glad you are though.
Yeah, I'm not. That's cool though.
Just act like we're not here, but I'm
Yeah,
glad. you're
here's the
doing
fun
it.
part. My client's already just texted me and just said, is that our contingency showing on the house? So she's at least seen it on Zillow. Here, okay. This is my like happy moment with these people. There are 3 adults that are decision makers a part of this transaction. 2 of them, or no, excuse me, there's 2 adults. 2 of them, or both of them, nonstop are getting alerts from Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, Murney, my website, all of them. This is the first house that we have looked at that I sent to them before they sent to me, and we got it under contract. So I'm very, very happy about that. And now I get to go tell them in front of like 100 people, so that's good. You know, just 5, but it feels like 100.
Where am I with 100?
Yeah. It does feel weird because I usually do this in an office like, by myself, right? Music playing. Hey, how are you doing? Good, good. So yes, to answer your question, that is your contingency offer that got accepted on Cloverdale. So next things that we need to do is really move forward as quickly as possible on getting your guys' house listed. And obviously getting the photos done. Because they currently have, according to our contingency, they have 72 hours of notice. So if they get another offer, they could get another offer right now. If they choose to accept that offer and they notify me, we would have 72 hours to remove our contingency for sale. That doesn't mean that your house has to be closed or anything within that 72 hours, but you do need to receive a contract within that 72 hours or find another way to remove your contingency. So whether that be a bridge loan, or if you know, Cliff or Chuck says that you guys can have 2 loans at one time or anything like that, obviously not what we want to do. So in order to make sure that that's not the case, we want to get this listed as soon as possible so that we are able to get on the market and get a contract on your house before we ever have to worry about any of those items. Any idea of the timeline from where you guys are right now? I know Angie said she had a couple of other doors she had to paint, and then was maybe painting one more wall. Is that correct? Okay, good. And then when it comes to, you guys were talking about having it professionally cleaned and then decided not to, any timeline on when that'll be completed, whether it's you guys or a cleaner? Yeah, for sure.
Anytime somebody's gonna look at it or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Absolutely, yeah.
I've got one, the office has to be mopped pretty thoroughly because this guy has puked in there multiple times and I haven't found it fast enough, so it's kind of like left the residue on the floor that's
Yeah.
gonna have to be
For
got
sure.
off in the office.
For sure.
It shouldn't be too long.
Okay.
And how far out is he with his photo appointments?
Truthfully, I can call in a favor and have him there tomorrow. I know you guys won't be ready tomorrow, but I could get him over there almost immediately.
Okay.
So
So
it's really,
we
yeah.
gotta take Angie like up to the depot shot today. She got to get that shot.
Okay.
And, obviously, I still have to do her school, but we'll work on getting the rest of this crap done
Okay.
tonight, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Perfect. So I will touch base with you in the morning or, mid-morning. I know you're working nights. So we'll touch base tomorrow and we'll make a plan. And then we will re-verify pricing on it at that time as well. And I'll come by, we'll get all the final documents done, and then we will get you on the market. We'll plan open houses, full marketing, everything like that to make sure that we get an offer as quickly as possible for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, perfect. So just one thing to keep in mind, our timelines when it comes to inspection, appraisal and all of that stuff do not start until our contingency is removed, until we convert to a contract or contingent on the close of your property. At that time, your inspection contingencies and all of that will start. One thing that I do like to mention in this scenario though, is we don't want to end up doing 2 inspections at one time. We don't want to be getting an inspection on your house from a potential buyer and then also doing an inspection on this other property. I like to have the inspections on the purchase side done very quickly, so we know that there's an issue. We can be ahead of it. I would hate to get an offer on your guys' house. We go do an inspection, and you guys have, you told them you're not worried about anything moving forward, and then all of a sudden it falls apart and you guys are out. Or if you get the inspection done on your house and they ask for everything, then we're trying to battle both of them at once. So we will be prepped and ready to go with an inspector as quickly as possible. But otherwise, you don't have to do it beforehand. Your timeline does not start until we actually go to a pending contract.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions for me right now?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they're gonna go with whatever the current deal is on the house. because
I think you guys will be okay for,
Yeah.
you guys are kind of on that time crunch when it comes to that. I think that I truly believe with everything you guys have done inside of the house, with having Hunter come over and doing those kinds of minor repairs, that you guys get the house, cleaned and prepped for photos, and then we'll be ready to go. And then we will make everything as easy as possible on you guys. Obviously, depending on what day we list, kind of dictates about, when people are wanting to do showings. And then when we have open houses, if we need to as well. So we'll make that work as much as we can for you guys. Okay, well, perfect. I will reach out to you in the morning. I'll send you a text, and then we can schedule either another call or just figure things out from there about when we need photos, and we'll get it all done.
Okay,
Okay, perfect. Well, congratulations.
thanks.
Yep, absolutely. If you guys need anything else, let me know, and then I'll be waiting to hear from you on photo time.
Okay,
All right, have a good one.
you too.
Bye-bye. Okay, so if you guys have anybody who needs a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and medical mile area for $250,000.
Wow.
So their house is not the cleanest house ever. And it's on Virginia Street, whatever street it is, or whatever neighborhood that is. I can't think what it is right now, but it's basement house, not a walkout basement, but it's a basement house. Person who lived downstairs in the basement, they have guinea pigs as pets. So they have 2 guinea pig pens. Yeah.
That probably smells so good.
It actually wasn't that bad. I was really shocked by that, I'll be honest with you. She also smokes, so it's a great little combo that we have there. I truly believe that house, it's a 2,200 square feet. I mean, it's a 275 house just based off of location. So I told them we're gonna list between 225 and 250 was the last numbers that I saw. And I said, it really depends on how much you guys do. They've done quite a bit of work to it. They've repainted every room downstairs. They put new doors up that have been painted. So they've done a bunch of work. So I think we'll list around 250. And okay shape there. So if you guys have anybody, let me know. It's gonna be a fun one. Any questions about anything that I said, didn't say? Did I miss anything that you guys were curious about?
You said in that offer, it's contingent right now,
Mhm.
but then it'll change to a different contingency
Yep.
upon the
So-
sale of their house.
So when we wrote the offer, it's contingent on the sale and closing.
So, okay,
But because it's not on the market and it's not under contract,
Mhm.
that's the sale part.
got it.
So as soon as we receive an offer and we agree to that offer and we go under contract with an executed contract on theirs, it converts from a sale or contingency on sale to a contingency on closing. At that point,
Didn't know there was two.
yep, yeah, it's a fun, like, yeah, it's really odd. Like, you don't have to send anything
Mhm.
that states that your contingency satisfied, but you have to send them another document that states that it's changing to a closing.
Got it.
You can send them a document that says that your contingency satisfied and that it's converting. It's just, it's silly.
Mhm.
They don't make it super clean. It's, and the big thing too that a lot of people miss and a lot of agents don't realize, is that your timelines don't start on the contract until that contingency is removed. So we're technically under contract right now, under contingent contract.
Mhm.
By my contract that I wrote, my clients have 15 days to get an inspection and deliver a notice. That does not start today. That does not start until I notify the other agent that our contingency's been removed and that we've converted over.
Which is important, because if you run out and do inspections now, then you've spent money of your clients that they can't get back.
And I've had clients that have done that intentionally. They'll do it early because if they, and it's usually if they have a really clean house, so they know they're not, like, someone's gonna buy without asking for any repairs, new construction, or they just remodeled it and they are selling it as is, or if it's just an as is sale, like they're not gonna make any repairs no matter what, however they sell it. I've had those clients go do an inspection before, because if they're unhappy with how this looks and they need to make repairs and they can't come to an agreement with the seller, but the person over here that's buying their house doesn't ask for any repairs, great, they've just sold their house and nowhere to go. So sometimes they will go ahead of the game and plan that. And that's where, like I was telling her, we will be very, very prompt when we start receiving an offer. I will probably, because I know we're pricing this house properly, I will probably schedule their inspection once we list their house and I kind of feel the traffic. If we have a ton of traffic, lots of interest, I will go ahead and schedule their inspection on their purchase side 3-4 days out. Right, and just be able to give it towards right away, we're able to do it. That way they're not like backpedaling and be like, holy crap, well, that sucks, I lost this house and I just sold mine. It's nice to have all this money, but I have nowhere to live.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't fun. Another consideration there, if you are the seller in that situation, contingent offers, reverse contingencies. I will still, I will do that on a house that's competitive. I'll ask for a reverse contingency to at least until we get our inspection notice done. And then I will even tell them like, hey, we have it scheduled for this date. I will have a response for them by this date. So I need until, roughly this date to give you an idea of what we're doing. And go from there. And it's worked. I've had clients that really, or agents that really don't love it, and I don't blame them. It sucks. It's really, really hard to convey that to your clients. It's hard as a buyer to sit there and want to write an offer knowing that you don't know that you're going to get this house for another 12 days. And that's really, really difficult. Frankly, I don't really care because I know that my clients won't be homeless because of it. So it's kind of a win-lose type of situation there.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions on it?
I remember when I came in at the very end of 2018, and so I kind of remember like when it started getting really weird with the multiple offers. And it stunned some people, like some agents that had been doing this a while, had never seen that. And then I remember another instance where, the sellers were getting a divorce and he was not a nice man to begin with, but their listing agent was incredible. She knows her stuff. She priced it right. And it went under contract in less than 2 days and the guy was livid,
Mhm.
thinking that she priced it too low.
I had a client fire me because I got him a full price offer in the first weekend.
Yeah, it was kind of that scenario
Really?
and it was
It was two
so,
listings. He fired me off of his land listing and then sold it for like 50,000 less than I had it listed for.
yeah, yes.
Sold his
and-
house, was really mad at me because I got him.
Yeah, she ended up having
Are you
to,
underpriced it?
Yeah.
Did you call him to ask him why?
Our conversation didn't really end on speaking terms.
Oh.
Yeah. He was
yeah,
a grumpy old man.
this one was pretty awful as well, but, and I think she ended up having to comply with,
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that, call him anyways.
Oh, we had plenty of conversations that were about it. We were still under contract.
Oh.
We were under contract on the sale of his house in 10 acres. He fired me from his 40-acre lot sale because he said I didn't earn my commission on the buy side or on the sale side because I had sold it so quick.
uh-huh.
What?
He obviously didn't know our market, or
Yeah.
like our market at the time.
It was great. Oh, he was well aware of the facts of all of it because he was also trying to buy in that market. And we had worked a miracle, sold his property, got him a year unpaid use of his shop for his tractor, and then got him 5,000 more than he asked for with no inspection repairs except for windows that were done that needed to be repaired. That was the only thing that they asked for. And then we got him under contract on an off market, and then he fired us. Some people cannot be reasoned with, and you just let them go.
Yeah.
And it is what
It's
it
okay
is.
to be fired.
Yeah, it was fine.
Fire yourself.
And it was funny, like, he fired me as he's like handing me a $20,000 check, basically, because we'd got him under contract on 2 ridiculous scenario properties, and he was not happy about it.
The agent ended up having to put it back on the market at the price that the client wanted. And it sat there for 2 weeks and then took a price reduction.
That's what happened this
And
one.
It finally did, and it was just for the sake of like, we wanted to get the woman out of the home and away from that guy. So like, that was the only reason why the agent stayed in the contract at all. It was.
That
was
one
crazy.
fired us, and
It was
then
gonna have to call
Derek
911.
Williams
It was
over
bad.
with Holt got the listing, and they listed it like 50,000 higher, and it sat, and we took an offer for like 20,000 less than we had it listed for. It was great. Luckily for them, that house sold, and that was easy, and they were able to use it like for their tractor, because he still had the land and he needed to brush hog it and needed to bale it. So we got him a 0 cost for 12 months to rent back a 40 by 20 space of the shop. So sometimes,
Can you make everyone happy?
nah, I don't want to. That's not as much fun, to be honest with you. Cool. What questions, comments? Did you guys learn anything? You can be honest, you can say that, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. Actually, it would a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. So I will say this, do what?
My dad would always say, you hurt my one feeling.
Yeah, my wife worries about me sometimes. She's like, do you have feelings? I'm like, yeah, I bury them. I will say that I am leading a top 20% mastermind
I know.
at 3 o'clock. So if you guys are
Miss it.
available to be here, I would highly recommend it. I may or may not have failed to do a good job of marketing it this month because it's been a little bit wild.
Are you teaching it in here?
Yes.
How long
And
is it
it's-
gonna last? 3 to 1 hour?
Yeah.
I'll try to make it better.
It's not, so when you say like teaching, it's not nearly as much of a teaching moment in a teaching class. It's very much a mastermind situation. Agents will come in. We'll usually talk about market of the moment. We'll talk about multiple offers. We'll talk about how we're listing houses right now because of X, Y. A few months ago, we were talking about how we were listing properties, how we were pricing properties because our listings that were moving quickly were under appraising because of the interest rates that had hiked 3 months beforehand. So those properties that had just recently closed at a lower price are now my comps. My comps aren't supporting my new sales. right? Very, very difficult. So you get to hear the top 20% talk about stuff like that. If you ever see on the calendar or any post or anybody post top 20% mastermind and it's here, it's open. Anybody's allowed to come. Anybody's more than welcome to be here. And I highly, highly encourage you guys to be here if you can. The top 20% will be the ones that will lead the class. They will be the ones that will be bringing up the conversations, having the topics. Somebody will ask a question and they will be the ones responding. But I want anybody and everybody to get the knowledge and hear the knowledge from it. It's very, very helpful for sure. So I think we're doing one next year or next month off of or out of here as well. So what do you guys do for this stuff? I wasn't really informed because I don't sit.
Do it on our own.
You guys do this on your own. I don't lead you through this, right?
No.
Okay. I'm like, if I do, I'm more than happy to do it, but I don't really know what I'm supposed to do here. Okay, here, I'm gonna tell you this one. Mike just left, unfortunately. Don't call people on the do not call list. They get mad and it's really expensive. If you get in trouble for it, $1,500 per violation. Can you imagine?
That's insane.
I've got guys that make 500 calls a day. Imagine if they made 500 calls to do not call list. Well, I would not be sitting here. So don't do that. Do not call the do not call list. Okay. What are you guys finding success in right now for finding clients, whether that's listing or buyers? I'm gonna ask you guys.
Calling everybody.
Who's everybody? Who do you like?
So like actually making the calls on the things you should be making calls. So anytime a Facebook lead comes up, calling a Facebook lead, they're a slutty lead, but they're still a lead. And then right now, like circle prospecting over and over again at open houses.
Yeah.
And mostly just getting names and numbers and then throwing them into the database for later.
Is everyone doing open houses? Yeah.
I did 2 for Amy just because she had 2 people back out and it was a personal friend and I'm commercial. But we had a personal friend that she was listing their house and so it's out by my house and I'm like, I can go sit there for 2 hours. It'll be peace and quiet. I can get some work done.
On that note, that's such a perfect segue. When I go to an open house, I bring something to do.
Yes.
That's work related, 1. And 2, I bring at least 2 comps, whether they're on my phone, whether they're, I generally like to have them on my phone. Because it's a great way for me to share them to a client.
And
also
get their information. I taught everybody in here how I do that.
I used to not even take MLS detail sheets to open houses. I would only take a digital flyer and a digital link to it. And we'd create like a landing page, or I would just send them the MLS link, and that would be an easy way to contact or get contact info. I love open houses. I was not the fancy guy at an open house. I didn't do waters and cookies and balloons and all this stuff. I would give them the information that needed. And my goal every open house was to find 1 person. I would love to sell the house that I'm at, but it's also not necessarily the most realistic thing. It's not, I think it was like something like 8% of buyers come from an open house of that actual property. And all of the open houses I've done, I've 1 time sold the open house to a buyer that I met at the open house. But get those leads and then follow up with them. One of the easiest things that I've done too is put them in a database, tag them as open house, and then whether you're using Command, Sync, your cell phone, Excel, I don't really care what your database is. Use Command because it's free. That would make the most sense. Don't use your phone or Excel sheet. But I would tag them as open house. And then every week, whatever open house I was at, I would send a little link and then an invite. And I would do that every open house I did. And if I had 100 people in there, it would send out 100 texts. I would just go out and I would sort by my open house tags. I'd go to open house. I would send a mass text. It would say, hey, blank, whatever. And their first name would obviously auto-populate. It was great meeting an open house a while back, or, in the past, or whatever it was going to be. Would love to see you again this week. I know this one may not be a fit for you, but I'm going to be at 123 Main Street on Saturday from 11 to 1. And then Sunday I'll be at this property, from 2 to 4. It's a very, very automated system. I had to manually put in the addresses. I had to manually put in the times. I had to manually hit send, obviously, but all those tags were automated there and I'd send out mass text. And that got me, by just doing that every week that I did an open house, it got me multiple clients off of it my first year. That I would have never, I wasn't diligent enough to be texting each one of these people one off unless I had them in a CRM. The fact that I had them in a CRM was able to, or enabled me to actually follow up in a meaningful way. So highly recommend doing something like that as well. What else? Yes.
Do you still do open houses for all your listings? Or for most of your listings?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. We have 4 agents on our team that'll do open houses pretty consistently. Kevin, not always. Kevin will do some of his own listings. He'll do them. Wes and I generally don't a ton anymore. I have an itch to do them again because I actually enjoy it.
You do enjoy them.
I do, because it's a very, I don't like calling people because I would rather just meet with you in person and I can create that relationship real quick. And then I'll call you, I'll talk to you, I'll text you, we'll go out, we'll do whatever. And I think I really started liking open houses when I went like 3 weeks in a row with only one guest at an open house. And out of those 3 weeks, I got 2 closings off of it in my first year. And I was like, it doesn't matter how many people I have there. If I have one person and actually make a meaningful relation or connection with them, it could go a long ways. I would much rather sit there on an open house for 2 hours instead of making phone calls to cold calls for 2 hours. Just for me personally, to each their own. Like, I know some people look at me like I'm a crazy person, and that's fine. I also like the activities around an open house. I like to circle call the neighborhood because it's giving them something right away that's tangible. They can come look at the open house. I can meet with them, have a conversation. I also door knock. I'll go out and we'll do like 10 on each side. So I'll go 10 this way, 10 that way, and invite them to the open house as well. So truthfully, all in, it's taken 2 hours at the open, and let's call it 3 hours during the week. It's given me 5 hours of legitimate lead generation tactics that I don't have to think about. It's not, to me, it's not only just the 2 hours of like cold calling that I don't enjoy doing. It's 5 hours of actually business building activities that are built into our open house system, which makes it, I think, a little bit more desirable for me. Yeah. Because I don't love sitting on the phones. I know. Most of our business is SOI driven. So I don't like doing the cold calls because that's never who my business came from. It always came from like relationships I already had or relationships that I made through opens or communities that I'm a part of or something like that. So then those weren't like cold calls to me. I would just send, people text and create, make coffee dates or lunch dates or whatever. And that would drive my business for sure.
I liked when Wes said that on the whatever day he was in here.
Yeah.
That you guys as a team, 1 day a week for 2 hours, just do the new lead calls.
Yeah. So
Get it out of the way, and then the rest of your lead generation is your sphere, your database.
Yeah. So on Tuesdays, our whole team comes in at 10 o'clock, and from 10 to noon, it's everyone has to be there unless you are sick or something crazy, right? And it is lead generation for new leads, whether and we kind of fluctuate a little bit because technically if somebody had an open house on Sunday, they can go be following up with those people they met at the open house. I'm still considering that a new lead because they've not necessarily solidified that unless they did so on Monday. But every Tuesday from 10 to noon, we do new lead generation. A lot of that's directly out of our pond or circle calling. Right now we're doing a lot of like unsolicited CMAs. So we're searching for a buyer in National Place. And, you know, a buyer's agent's like, hey, I've got a buyer that's struggling really hard to find something. They really love these areas. If anybody, you know, wants to focus on those, you know, that'd be great. And we'll send unsolicited CMAs with like a letter of like, hey, you bought your house for this. You can sell your house for this, right? Some people will say, holy crap, like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna call them at least. Handwritten letters will go a long ways in today's day and age because it's just not common anymore, right? That personal contact's just not as common. Everybody's getting, I mean, how many, since you guys have been here, I'm sure somebody's gotten a text from an insurance provider trying to, or a referral company to give you something, right? So doing those handwritten letters or like the unsolicited CMAs that like I'm actually writing on and like sending a short message. Those have been good. Creating conversations. Our team does a lot of mailers. We get a lot of crap for it because they go out to agents. I would love to not waste my money on sending them to other agents at other brokerages or even agents at our brokerages. But I can't scrub through all 5,000 real estate agents that are in our brokerage or our board that I don't know all their names. So we send them out, as long as you're not listed, we send them out, or as long as you're not listed when we pull the transaction, we'll send it to that address. There are times that.
Like a golden letter postcard or something.
Yeah. So we do handwritten letters for the golden letter and we send those out every month, a lot of them a month.
So the postcard has the same purpose as a.
Yeah, it's golden letter script. It's all we use. It's aggravatingly simple. It's expensive. It's the hardest part about that one too, is that it is not an immediate return. There's very little immediate gratification on that one. Occasionally you get lucky. And I've gone on 60 appointments for like golden letter appointments. And I've signed at the table, like that first time I met with them, a couple, maybe 3 or 4. Those are generally like, you've reached them before they've ever filled out another online form, before they've ever listed FSBO, before they've ever talked to a friend or another agent, before any of it. And you're just getting them when they're like, well, maybe, right? So they have no idea what their house is worth. They have no idea what they would even sell it for if it was worth $1 million. They don't even know if they would sell it at that price. They don't know if they care that much. Generally speaking, those are just take time. They're a lot of effort. And they are a follow-up game, which leads us to our Thursday. Our Thursday on our team, 10 to noon, we're in there doing follow-up. So, Tuesday, you get all your new leads that come in. You have an appointment with them. And then Thursday, you're doing all your follow-up stuff. So my old open house guest, I'm following up with them. My old appointments that I have, I'm following up with them. And there's generally, I'm following up with them more than that, but I know for a fact it's on my calendar to do that then. And then if I'm at that point, like I've done through my follow-up of who I need to work with, I'm also then using that time to talk to my active buyers and my active sellers as well. My signed clients, because I still need to be following up with them as well. Other than that, we trust our people. And I think that's kind of indicative of our team. You see that, I think it's part of the reason why people come to the office, because they enjoy being there. And it's very easy to see our top producers are in the office all the time. And it's because they're productive there. They know the environment's conducive to business, whether that's now or later. Over the last 3 years, we've done more double sides than I could ever imagine, because our team just openly communicates nonstop. And we'll, hey, I've got this buyer, I've got that seller. We have pipelines that we're looking. Every time I need to write an email before I go to the office or before I go to mastermind. I have somebody I met with yesterday that said, yeah, I'll sell it. I'm a real estate agent, but I'll let you sell it to your people if you find it right now, and I'll pay you no questions asked. It's all yours. No one else knows about this. She's not an active, normal residential sales agent. She buys a bunch of investment properties. She's family members. Her son's wife is the daughter to an agent, a big agent that's active day to day. Her best friend is an agent over at Murney that sells every day. And the fact that I followed up with her after our appointment and told her that I'm pursuing a potential buyer for her, she sent me a text that was like, I would like to talk to you about actually just you getting the house listed if we don't have a buyer for these first rounds. And it's follow-up. That's literally the only reason. The fact that it was like, I told her I'm going to call you at this time. And I called her at that time. I gave her the data that I told her I was gonna give her, and then it shows up. And those are, I think, are the biggest things for us is like, I know that I can call somebody or I can tell somebody, I will call you back on Thursday. Because on Thursday, I have the time on my calendar to do it. And it's very, very clear. And if you're gonna create yourself a lead gen schedule, that's 5 days a week for lead generation for an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever. Also set it up for who you're calling and who you're contacting or how you're gonna lead generate during those times. Otherwise, you're gonna forget, right? Clayton's like, I like to make phone calls and I'm lead generating. Well, on Monday, I'm calling these people for this type of property, or I'm calling for these buyers. Or, and then Tuesday I'm calling, I don't know, all my appointments I've had previously. Wednesday, I'm doing this. Thursday, right? Like be very, very clear with yourself. And then like, oh, cool, I met Sam at an open house on Sunday. Hey, I'm gonna call you tomorrow on Monday and just follow up and just see if there's any questions I can have, right? Or any questions I can answer. Monday becomes my open house day. I call all my people on Mondays. And back when I did open houses, I would text them when I left and then I'd call them on Monday. And like, until they tell me to stop, right? Or beg me to stop, or they buy a house.
Yeah.
Or get really annoyed and just like block me. Had a few of them do that. It's fine, didn't hurt my feelings. More than one of them at least, so.
You saw Brian's video on Instagram. Did you see that?
I don't know that.
He made a video of
It was really
a
fun.
response. We got called back from, like, I had called the guy, he had called the guy, he had had a conversation with the dude. And then he tried to call him again, and then the guy left a voicemail, and it was just like outrageous. Yeah.
One thing on that too that you just mentioned, or you said something that made me think of it. You will call people and they will not know who you are.
Yeah.
They will not know the difference between Brian Fisher's team and my team. They won't know the difference between Michelle Cantrell's team and my team. Completely different brokerages, right? We're all the same in their eyes. We all are the same person. We send out these old letters and I'll have people, my favorite, they'll handwrite us a letter back rather than calling. That's awesome. It's hysterical. Denver has a pen pal. So Denver and this guy send each other like a piece of mail like once a month, and it's hysterical. The dude's like 100 years old. It's great. We for sure have the listing unless he dies and it goes to the estate, and then I don't know what's gonna happen to it then, but we'll get these letters back or a call back that's like, I need you to quit calling me. I've asked you 100 times. Like, I will call them if they send me like, hey, you're off my list, first of all, like you're done. But I want you to know that it's the first piece of mail I've ever sent to your address, right? Like, I get it that you're annoyed with so-and-so, or you're annoyed with 100 wholesalers that keep sending you, I want to buy your house. This isn't what this is. I have a client that's looking in your neighborhood, so I sent you a piece of mail, right? Sometimes it's worth your breath to do that. Sometimes it's not. A lot of times I ignore it. Sometimes people are like, I thought I've asked you to remove me from your list. And it's like, I'm gonna be polite enough to tell them like, my bad, you weren't on my list, you know what I mean? And just go from there. I've had plenty of people that are like, oh yeah, you can go ahead and follow up if that's the case. Like, you actually are an agent that's trying to sell my house to a potential buyer and not trying to buy it for pennies on the dollars. They usually will allow me to at least follow up with them every month, 2 months, 3 months, it goes a long ways for sure. Anything else, guys? And I'll let you guys go do some lead gen, because I know that's more important. Who's gonna lead gen during this time? Who you guys calling? Or how are you lead generating, I should say, not who you calling?
Well, Shayna or the Market Center now is doing that challenge for the month of July.
Oh, awesome.
You've seen it. She's
not.
posting it like the next hour probably,
Awesome.
by the end of the day. And there's actually legit, like, very large prizes to the person that gets the most houses listed.
Heck yeah.
And there's like 5 groups that you can be categorized in. So like, I wouldn't be, as a single agent, wouldn't be.
Competing against a.
Competing against your group, which is big. So anyways, and there's like 5 different prizes, and
Take,
so
take advantage of that stuff, like, and it's
I'm
always,
gonna
it
try.
always blows my mind when I put a challenge out there. I taught a class, I don't remember, I think it was actually group coaching. And I was like, whoever brings me the first signed listing agreement, I'll give you $100 from this group coaching. Like whoever the next signed listing agreement that comes out of the group coaching, like I had taught it on a Wednesday or whatever, or led it on a Wednesday. I was like, I'll hand you $100 bill. You know, as a good job for getting a listing. I was like, you can't list your own house, right? Like you have to go actually get a client. Whoever brings me a new one, it's yours. Not a single person ever came back to me again. It's like, I don't care, like, I'm more than happy to keep my money, but it's like, I'm curious, did anyone actually go do it? You know what I mean? Like, and that for me, I was like, I wonder if anyone actually took the time and effort to go try to get a listing. I don't know what the answer is to that. I'm just so curious. So the market center wants to give you money. Like, the market center wants you to succeed. I think that's the coolest thing about our office. I've never been anywhere else, so I can't speak positively or negatively about anywhere else. But I can say, like, I get pissed when our team's not at a certain position on the total top down, but it's not because I don't want to see somebody else succeed. Like, I love nothing more than looking at, you know, Adam and their team celebrate their awards. Like, I'm so pumped for them because they worked their tails off and they deserve every bit of it, right? And I think that is the overwhelming majority of people here at this office too. So dive into that, lean into it. All of our Ignite presenters, anybody who teaches, anybody who comes down and helps out with team meeting or anything like that, like, don't be afraid to knock on a door, to make a phone call, to shoot a text. They'll be overwhelmingly more than happy to help. Cool. Anything else, guys? Thank you for being engaging. I don't know how to end this thing. I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong. If anyone's listening up at the market center, please come fix this because it's, I don't know what it's supposed to be doing.
I think stop recording,
Well, I hit end, so we'll see if that
but I
goes.
couldn't find it the other
It'll
day
say
either.
stop recording.
So there's and I think it looks different because at one point in time, we also had an iPad down here that was connected to stuff.
He's got it back there.
Oh, there.
See, that's my
He didn't
point.
bring it.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, where are you?
cool. Well, if you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help out in the way that I can. Phone number's right there.